Wow, have I heard you guys loud and clear. You left an enormous amount of comments on my video where I talked about basically just the breaking down of society and showing those videos where all that crime was taking place. I mentioned in that video saying, hey, it may be just a good idea to give you my ideas on a scenario. If I was in the city, if I was stuck in the city, I couldn't get out, this is how I would prepare my home. This is how I would prepare by doing some of these things. And so many of you left comments saying, do that video. A sort of imaginary scenario, Mad Max, what would I be doing? What would I do? So many of you left comments. So we're going to get into it here. The first thing I'm going to do is talk about how everything I'm about to say in this video is educational purposes and entertainment purposes only. Nothing in this video should be taken seriously or with criminal intent. Okay, I'm not trying to tell you to break the law. I don't want to break the law. I am a law-abiding, tax-paying citizen of this country. Okay, just let's get that out of there. All those YouTube algorithms, I'm not trying to advocate anything illegal. Okay, it's just a scenario. Let's dive into our imagination that if we lived in a Mad Max world, what would you do? Okay, so today I'm going to give you three scenarios. The first scenario is you are in the city, living basically by yourself. You may have one loved one or two people with you, and you don't have a lot of friends, you don't have a network, and you're just trying to figure out a way to get through. There's complete and total collapse. All three of these scenarios are a complete and total collapse, okay, without rule of law. Okay, meaning there is no police you're going to call. The phones aren't even working. Water's not turned on. Electricity is off. Okay, there's no trash pickup. Services and everything's done. Okay, you're not going down to the store. Okay, you are in a scenario. All three of these scenarios are without rule of law. WROL. Now, and you're stuck in the city. Okay, knowing that, it has been said throughout history, Patton said this, that fixed fortifications are monuments to the stupidity of man. However, there's a reason why people have always gravitated throughout history towards fixed fortifications. It's because if you can make the juice not worth the squeeze, chances are you're going to come out on the other side of this. There are many examples throughout history where fixed fortifications have worked. Okay, if you come across a determined enemy or determined adversary who has unlimited time and resources, they will eventually take you. Okay, the best example I can come up with right off the bat is Constantinople throughout history. It took, different caliphs, several hundred years to finally take the walls of Constantinople. But, a siege would come, it wouldn't work, and they'd go away. Another siege would come, and it wouldn't work, and they'd go. Finally, someone came, and they took Constantinople. But it took several hundred years before they finally, rolled the dice and got what they wanted. The two things, I'm going to give you some homework right off the bat here, okay? I want you to do a little bit of homework that's going to better gear your mind and give you the mental preparations of things you might need to do, because I can only say so much in this video. Okay, I'm going to give you some examples, and I'm going to show you on a map what I would do in this video and then on the next two videos. But there's some homework. Number one, I want you to look up all you can about the war in Bosnia, Sarajevo, okay, 1996-ish, 1995, 1996-ish. Sarajevo was a complete and total city without rule of law, total lawlessness. It didn't matter if you were a man, woman, or child. If you walked down the street in broad daylight, you were probably going to get hit by a sniper. There was complete and total collapse. There's amazing stories of survival that have come out of what that was like. If you want to know what it's going to be like in a complete grid down scenario without rule of law, there are things throughout history you can read about. Sarajevo is one that I would highly recommend going out and researching what life was like in Sarajevo in 1995, 1996-ish. Okay, the other one is there's a guy named Furfowl out there, and he writes extensively about the breakdown in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And his name is Furfowl, F-E-R-F-A-L. F-E-R-F-A-L. Look up his writings. He will give you extensive scenarios and things that really happened in real life while living in the city without rule of law. Now, there was some police presence here and there. It's just like Syria. There was a police. Everything was corrupt. Okay, basically it was militaries fighting back and forth. But in Buenos Aires, there was a police presence, but it was very corrupt. It was unreliable. Basically, it was every man for himself. And they are allowed to have firearms in that city at the time, and there was a lot of barter and trade. Please go look up Furfowl. There's all kinds of websites that will have his writings out there if you do some Google searching, and you can read about what life was like when a complete breakdown took place in Argentina. Please look that up. It's fascinating reading. It'll totally give you some insights on things you can prepare for and mentally, prepare yourself for. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the map, and I'm going to show you. We're going to pick a house in the city, and I'm going to give you my ideas of how I would best survive the zombie apocalypse that's coming. So for all three of these scenarios, I'm going to be working within the confines of the city of St. Louis or its surrounding area, okay? I know St. Louis. I grew up there, and so that's the city I'm the most familiar with. So we're just going to pick a house in the city. Your, mileage may vary depending on where you live, but again, we're in the city. I have to pick a city. We're picking St. Louis. So here's where we're going to start. I'm just going to pick a house down here. This is going to be the house that I'm picking. This one right here. And it's got a lot of potential, I think. All of these houses are going to have upsides and downsides for, making them a harder target. Number one, I like the fact that this one has a fence around it. Does your house have a fence around it? Might be a good idea to do that. It's a barrier, okay? It's an initial barrier. It's got a swimming pool in the backyard. And that can hold a lot of water. I would probably move that pool closer to the house if it was me. It's also got some ground, some greenery in the back, a lawn that you could use to dig up and grow some food. Potatoes being, something that's dense, high calorie food that you could grow, some tubers, some different things, but it's got ground that you can grow something in. It also has a flat roof. I like the idea of this flat roof. I don't see any immediate roof access to this, but that would be something I would definitely correct quickly. I would be wanting to get roof access because on that roof, you're going to be, number one, doing rainwater catchment. And number two, you can be putting some pots up here, in certain places that can grow additional food that is not accessible from the ground level, keeping people, with who have evil intent from coming in and stealing your food maybe in the middle of the night. So you could put like some big old round, like we have on our homestead, we have these big round mineral tubs, and these mineral tubs are great for growing potatoes. You can get something sort of similar and grow potatoes in the mineral tubs up here on the roof. As long as the roof is able to withhold some of those. You might not be able to do so many, but yeah, I would definitely put potted plants up here on the roof and water them at night, or actually right early in the morning would be even better because criminal elements usually sleep early in the morning. They don't get up early. So right at sunrise, I'd be getting up on this roof and watering your plants with some of the rainwater catchment if you have it, and then having that rainwater catchment that your system that you're going to put up in here, have that allowed to where you can drain that down and collect that rainwater below in the house somewhere or just on the outside of the house, maybe in the back here. But watering it in the morning, if you hear my sheep in the background, it's because they're right outside my office window. If you watering early in the morning, criminal elements usually are up late at night doing their dastardly deeds, and they sleep late. So usually early in the morning is a pretty safe time to get up and water, because the reality here is when you get up on this roof, you have no protection. Someone in a surrounding building can take a shot at you, and that's not good. So if possible, you want to do this early in the morning, right at sunrise, when the criminals are getting ready to fall asleep, and because they've, done all their bad deeds for the night. And that's when usually zombies go to bed. So anyway, so there you go. I would do that. I would harden up your target. They make all kinds of amazing door jammers. These days you can buy online. You could put those on the front door and back door or any access point of your home. Check out door jammers. I mean, it's not a product. It's just there's a lot of different range of products that are door jammers. They make an amazing variety of those out there today. So find a door jammer that works for you to help make sure, because the reality is most doors that are made today, they can be kicked in pretty easily. Okay, you want to harden up your target. If your back door, it's like there's a back door right here. It might be kind of hard to kick in a back door going uphill up these stairs, but still, let me get a better view here of this. Yeah, okay. I can't get a really good view. I'm trying to get this thing to There we go. It's not letting me go down any more lower than that. So anyway, you've got a door back here, and I don't know if there's any other access door. Sometimes there's usually a basement door here. A lot of these homes have basements. You can see the next door, they have a basement window. But most of these homes have basements. So any door you have, you're going to want to put some sort of door jammer as protection on that. A shotgun is probably going to be the best home defense for a place like this. In fact, interestingly enough, most of these homes are called shotgun homes. And it's because it's just a straight shot all the way back. If you're from St. Louis, you probably know that. Anyway, so I would get a shotgun for home defense and some double-aught buck, or even, birdshot will make a mess out of a criminal. Birdshot's a lot cheaper and a lot more plentiful, and at a close range, because this is all going to be close range, it'll make a mess out of anybody and probably kill them. But double-aught buck is great too. And then fencing. You've got fencing already going around the back here. That's fantastic. You probably want to maybe get fencing if you don't have that. Make it secure, make it higher. If you get some barbed wire, maybe put some barbed wire along the edges of this thing. Again, all you're doing is trying to make this target hard. If the criminal's looking, if you have a gang of criminals, like 4 or 5 criminals, and they're looking for an easy target, and they see this guy barbed wired, okay, he's got some other things we'll talk about, but it just looks hard. They're going to go look for an easier target. First of all, if I saw barbed wire, I'd be like, that guy's probably armed, number one. Let's find someone who lives by themselves who we can target and not have to pay the price of that a soft target doesn't, charge for. So that would be the first thing. And then also another thing that I recommend that you probably won't hear in a lot of places is stinging nettle. Stinging nettle grows in shade. You don't need full sun. It's great if you have sun. But actually, stinging nettle gets taller the less sun you give it. And it covers more area. If I had windows that had access points, around here, I would plant in those window flower pot hanging things, stinging nettle that a criminal would have to climb over. Or if you have a window on the side of the house, you could grow the stinging nettle on the side of the house, and it immediately lets anyone who comes into contact with that plant know that this is not a good area. And it's probably best to leave. Stinging nettle is a fantastic way to harden up your target, and I would highly recommend getting the seed for that and planting it in certain places that you do not want people to pass through. And in a small city like this, you have likely avenues of approach. Stinging nettle is a fantastic way to, because you will, the effect of coming into contact with stinging nettle is immediate, and it lasts for days. So I would highly recommend doing that. Also, one of the things, if you lived in a place like this, don't live alone. Have at least a couple people with you. If possible. I know if you're all by yourself or if you're carrying just for one person. I had a comment. Here's the comment. Yes, do the video. I'm stuck in a Midwestern blue city to care for an elderly mother that needs to stay for healthcare reasons. If it's just you and your elderly mother that you're caring for, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be tough because you're going to need to venture out at times to go get things, to trade and barter with people. Again, read about Furfowl and some of his experiences in Buenos Aires. You're going to have to eventually venture out to get things you need. And leaving someone home alone, a criminal element who is watching, and people, all these buildings, all these windows have eyes. Everyone's watching. So someone's going to eventually notice that and going to take advantage of your situation when things get desperate. So having 2 or 3 people living with you is the best ideal solution, where if you leave to have to go do something, there are people there guarding the door, guarding the home with that shotgun or shotguns, and they can make, again, the juice not worth the squeeze. Preps. If I lived in a house like this, what preps would I want for sure? There's lots of different things. We could talk an entire hour on certain preps that I would want for a city scenario. But goes without saying, food. You want food. You want a stockpile of food. Beans and rice are probably going to be the cheapest and take up the least amount of space. Beans and rice, okay? If you can have other things, if you have the money to afford other things, get other things. Get spices, get salt, get sugar. Get these things and stockpile them in the basement that you have, if you have a basement. Like in City, St. Louis, I know that all these homes have basements. Water filters. You're going to do rain catchment. So you're going to filter your water. And you have a pool back here with great water capacity. Get a water filter, get a couple different water filters, some sort of system, even if it's a pocket filter from Katadyn or the Katadyn Vario or something similar like that. Get a water filter so you guys have water to drink and you can have potable water to cook with. Most of these buildings also, if you notice, have chimneys to them. A lot of these chimneys have been shut down because no one uses chimneys anymore. We have electrical heat. We have all kinds of other things. We have propane. We have natural gas. I think natural gas is really big in the city of St. Louis. But in the old days, they had, these fireplaces, and they're going to be resurrected. Clean out these fireplaces and make them usable again, because chances are that's how you will be heating and cooking in your home. Shortwave radios is a top prep I would have. You want to have some sort of understanding of what's going on in the outside, and having a shortwave radio that you can put up and just get some information and see what's going on in the outside world is going to be paramount. And you might become something of a barter and trade information of the people in your immediate area who may want to know what's going on. And if you have a shortwave radio, I guarantee in a city like this, you're probably going to be the only one who has one. And information is key. Information is power. If you have access to information about what's going on, you can also automatically, almost overnight, be someone of value that everyone else around here sees as value because you have access to that information. So, all right, and again, have a shotgun, because if they find out you're getting it from a shortwave radio, they may try to steal your access information, your radio. Barter and trade items, things like coffee, alcohol, gold, silver. Again, read Furfowl. Furfowl talks often about the gold and silver trade and barter trade that took place in Buenos Aires in 2001 during the collapse. Absolutely. People who think gold and silver will not be barter items, you are complete morons. You have no concept of history. Gold and silver have never, ever been worthless throughout any sort of scenario ever in the history of planet Earth. Whenever there's an economic turmoil, whenever there's a collapse of society, gold and silver always reigns supreme throughout history. Never has there been a time when it's been worthless. And Furfowl talks about that in his talks about some of the scenarios that people, like, they would take gold chains into these places, and they would clip off a link of the gold chain, and that would buy groceries or medicine for that week or whatever they needed. So it was absolutely bartered and traded for back in those days. And then also, when it comes to barter and trade items, figure out ways to be a producer again of something, even if it's on a small scale. I can tell you what I would recommend if I had a place like this, something I would produce. Now, it'd probably be limited unless I grew the materials needed to continue to produce something. But right away, I can tell you I would try to get a small still, and I would produce some sort of ethanol product that I can barter and trade with. People are always going to want their booze.
We ain't got no booze. Well, we're going to get some booze.
But there are other options too. Besides the still, figure out some way to be productive that you can use that production to further yourself amongst whatever economy that is going to exist in your area. There will be an economy. People are always going to need things. And if you can produce something, anything that people can use, need, and you can produce that, you're going to be heads and shoulders above everyone else in giving you that ability to survive in a place like this. It's going to be harsh. You're going to have roving gangs. A lot of times it's going to be 4 or 5 people who are just the criminal element that you have to worry about on a daily basis. Carjackings, house break-ins, rapings, murders. Again, read about Furfowl and some of the experiences that he lived through while living in a city, a very deep urban environment. That's going to give you a heads up, mentally prepare you for what is coming in an area like this. So, but yeah, and then you're going to have bigger gangs. You're going to have, warlords will eventually be established. And, depending on where you live, again, 50-50 chance on what kind of, the kind of things you're going to deal with. But the criminal elements, the criminal gangs are going to be your primary concern, especially going forward in the near term of a societal collapse. But anyway, all right, so that's the first scenario. That's the first scenario. Living in a city, you don't have much of a network. You're kind of by yourself. Maybe you have 2 or 3 other people, and you're in a house, okay? And there's nowhere for you to go. You're here. What are you going to do? That's what I would give you as the first scenario. Now, the second scenario is more along the lines of what I would do. I'm stuck in the city. I have a network of maybe 3 or 4 guys I know. Maybe they're veterans. They have some combat experience because our population right now is loaded down with people who have combat experience in Afghanistan and Iraq and wherever else. There's lots of veterans out there. There's lots of gun owners out there, people who know things. Like in that movie, The Postman. I love that movie, The Postman, where Kevin Costner, he's kind of bit off more than you can chew, and he goes up to the guy who's got the 82nd Airborne tattoo. He says, hey, you know stuff. That's the kind of scenario that we're going to talk about in the next video. And it's going to be more along the scenario. If I was stuck in the city, this is what I would do, because I just have access. I'm not chained down to a certain house or a certain place. I'm going to do this. So we'll talk about that in the next video. Scenario number 2, you're not going to want to miss it. I think a lot of you might fall into that scenario. So if you didn't fall into this one. So that was a little bit of a long video. I hope you enjoyed it. So please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. I know the comments are going to be all over the board. Oh, Zach, you're such an idiot. I can't believe you left this out and that out, and you talked about this, and you're living in a dream world. And there'll be a lot of you guys who are like, oh, that's great. I really appreciate this video. I really appreciate the advice. It gave me stuff to think about. Please go check out the writings about Sarajevo and then Furfowl as well. That's going to give you a complete and total way bigger understanding then I'm going to be able to give you in the short video here, even though it's not very short. We're like going on, 30 minutes or whatever. So anyway, leave a comment below and stay tuned for the next scenario. If you like the video, please hit the like button before you go. Please hit the like button. And then also share the video on social media with your friends and family. And, let's see what they think as well. That's how you network. That's how you talk. Talk amongst yourselves now. Okay. All right. See you next time in the Homestead. Bye. This is Grandma. Grandma survived the Great Depression. She survived the Great Depression because her supply chain was local and she knew how to do stuff. Grandma was smart. Grandma told us to make do with what you got. She also said, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Homesteading is all about self-reliance and declaring ourselves to be independent from the system. We grow our own food, we raise our own animals, and doing these things helps safeguard our families from the unpredictable world that surrounds us. But what about banking? I love being my own power company, but what about being my own bank? Right now, our country is over $30 trillion in debt and rising. The Fed keeps printing money and the Congress won't stop spending money. Staying attached to the modern banking system and their investment vehicles is like putting all of your eggs in one very, very fragile basket. On one side, you have the threat of inflation and your savings value floating away. And the other side is a possible deflationary stock market collapse, just like what happened in the 1930s. Genesis Gold Group is like a basket holding eggs, and these eggs are impossible to break. History shows us that all paper investments have and will return to their intrinsic value eventually. 0. But gold, silver, and other precious metals have never, ever been worthless. In every collapse throughout history, people have turned back to precious metals to find monetary value. If you have a 401k, an IRA, or a savings account where you're literally watching the purchasing power inflate away, give Genesis Gold Group a call right now. Today, this instant. They can develop a strategy for you in the days ahead. I can tell you how I raise sheep, I can tell you how I raise chickens, or the best way to grow tomatoes, or how to hook up a solar panel. But Genesis Gold Group is your best shot at safeguarding your hard-earned savings and investments during this increasingly turbulent time in history. The link and phone number is in the description below, or visit their website at genesisgoldgroup.com. And be sure to say you heard about them from An American Homestead.